Good afternoon, it's Sunday the 24th of February. Been busy this week, taking advantage of the fact it hasn't been raining and it hasn't been cold to work on getting was stripped out to the point, well the same point as thistle. Today was a case of front end off. Look at the filth I've got to clean up and I'm going to give this a clean up before I put it back together again. Front end off, remove the wiring for the blue lights. This one was a little bit more sensible than my other van. All the wiring had a connector, so all I've got now is just one plug. I'm not even going to remove that, I'm just going to leave it there. It's up in the far right hand side of the bulkhead. I shall cover that in a bit of tape. But all the wiring came out dead easy. I didn't have to mess about chasing anything through at all. And a good thing, because there's a lot more wiring in this van that I don't want to take out. One interesting thing is, where they fitted the air conditioning condenser, it interferes with the mounting of the power steering cooler. So I've improved on that because the thing was just wobbling around in the breeze. I haven't put the front end back on again because I'm going to try and buy a replacement bumper. The current one's got a big hole in it where the siren was. And on this van it actually had an electric siren, whereas my other van had a sounder and a sound pipe. So that's the front end, all off. I've got a clip to replace. I don't know if that's visible in the end of the wing there. There. That was broken. Little clip there, mounting clip. There's the one on the other side. Yeah, I've got to buy one of those. But other than that, nothing much to do. The grill was a bit cracked, but I'll live with that for the time being. Right, I know I'll go into the inside of the van and show you what I've been up to so far. Right now, dashboard's ripped to pieces. I was rather curious where some of the cabling went. This had a DVI cable in it. I've just removed the VGA cable. It's had various iterations, I think, over the time of screens and things. But the Trimble unit that was mounted down there in the footwell had a GPS cable to it, which is currently tucked up in there. I've removed that and pulled all of the cabling out. There is an adapter lead there for the radio, and the lead with the yellow wires in is the actual original radio lead, plus a couple of the yellow wires, the actual was installed speaker cables. But they've added an extension lead, and that lead with the brown and black connector actually goes up there. There's a radio connection up there and an aerial connection up there as well. So they're obviously extending the radio. Also, there is that white connector there. That, I think, not sure yet, got to track it, but I think goes to that camera, which I got dangling down. And the VGA cable, which is, I can't see it, where's it gone? There. That is a VGA to DIN cable, and there's a DIN plug up there as well. So I'm beginning to work out where half of these weird run of wires go. I've disconnected the alarm siren unit today. That's gone from inside the box of tricks. We now have mains working in the van. I only had to replace a single relay inside this unit here, change it from 110 volts to 240. Oh, it's wobbly a bit, sorry. Let's tie that up. And we've now got, I've got to still change the label from 115 to 240 volts, but we've now got full functional charging. The chargers, the Voltronic chargers, I've just got one operation at the moment. The other one I've isolated the cables and just removed it because I took one out and took it into the workshop to pull it apart and double check everything was set up for 230 and test it on a donor battery before I blew anything up in here. But that one is still in place because I'm using that one to charge the engine battery, which is 60 amp and not a lot of copper, and I shall probably change that. I've got various cables over there coiled up. There's the two cables that go to the original Genesis control panel, which I probably won't be refitting. I've got a cable there which I think is a camera feed. It may even, I'm not 100% sure, but either that white plug there or that 5-pin DIN plug there, I think finds its way up into the ceiling to that camera, and I haven't worked out which one yet. I've got another cable over there with some German writing on it, which I've called up. Haven't worked out what it is yet, but it goes back to the Genesis unit. I've pulled out, there was a 13 amp coily lead in here that provided an extension for a life support unit charger or something like that. I've pulled that out, don't need that in here at the moment, although there is a very handy, on the front of this mains box, there's a very handy 13 amp socket, which is very good for extension leads while I'm working in here. Can you see that from where I'm sitting? Yes, you can. The ducting that goes through the van, I've effectively now got a completely empty one, which is very, very handy, because I'll now move inside the van. Earlier on this week, I removed the cupboards that were there. I will cut to that shortly, bit of time-lapse footage. I thought initially these were actually built-in cupboards that I could take out intact, but they weren't. It was just sides and back, no backs, just sides. So I ended up taking the whole thing out. And as part of taking it out, I've effectively ended up pulling out the vents and the various bits of plastic trunking and panelling that went down there. The side piece of the cupboard actually is what supported all this lot. And I was rather curious what these vents do. And I think it just provides ventilation through the entire vehicle, because it actually routes through. You'll see that I've got every single light removed at the moment. That was primarily because I wanted to test them all, because when I was operating the control panel, not everything was coming on. I've now found out that out of all the fluorescent light lamps, 4 of the fluorescent bulbs were faulty. Chances are when I plug them all back in again, they will all work when I push the button that turns everything on. But also because this was filthy, the lights were filthy, and there's a lot of dirt around the openings. Now I may not use all of these openings. For example, this one is going to be where the shower's going to be, so I won't use it. But there is a switch there, which I will be able to use in the shower room as a shower switch. There's a little dangly thing there that says reserve. I haven't buzzed out where that cable goes yet, but there's an exact same identical one in the comms cabinet. I've got that drawer unit out in one piece. That was a complete unit. I'm very pleased about that because I want to use some of it. And that means I can now seriously consider putting a walk-through here. I can't make it the full width of the glass opening because this metal box here is in the way, and I'm not going to remove this metal box. It's glued in, bolted in, and I will destroy this really handy cabinet on the right here in trying to remove this metal box. So that metal box is staying. That limits the opening we've got, but I'm going to probably reduce the height of this drawer unit because the fridge is going to go on top of that, and there is a vent which you can't see here, but there is a vent directly above that hammer which goes into the air conditioning blower unit. So there needs to remain a vent there, and that's exactly where we need a vent to pull hot air out of the fridge as well. So the fridge is going to go there at eye level, and I will reuse as many drawers as possible at lower level, and I may even reduce the length of the drawer unit slightly as well, just to make access to this cupboard a bit more useful. But that's current thinking. Earlier on this week I wasted, in fact on Thursday I think it was, pretty much half a day trying to get this metal unit out. This is what had the original patient seats on it. Operator seats on it, 2 of them. It's bolted down through the floor using 18 bolts on this side and 4 bolts coming up from underneath. It's then glued, and it's not the normal silicone. Most of the stuff in here has been just siliconed in, which has been dead easy to take out with a hook blade. Makes removing the cabinets quite easy. But this thing, I would have to cut it up first of all and then take a crowbar to the metalwork to get it out, and I would cause a lot of damage, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to leave that in there. I always wanted to be able to take it out in one piece anyway without destroying it, so that we could put it back in if we ever wanted to use the seat mountings, because they've got seat belts on everything. We'll work around that now. We'll build something either on top of it, or we'll build a seat on it or a bed on it or something, but I'll work around it. So as for layout, the cooker is going to go against this panel here. I'm not going to remove this panel, at least I don't intend to, because there's quite a lot of wiring behind it. Actually, now that I've been pulling things out, there isn't that much behind it. I don't intend to remove this panel. It's very useful for bolting things up against, but the cooker's going to go up against there. We need to leave enough gap to drop that cubby hole down, because that's a fantastic storage box, and we need to leave enough room to access this shelving unit, cupboard unit, whatever you call it. But current plan is cooker there, bed, seat there, and the shower unit over there. Swing around. We've been working on these cupboards here. A lot of the hinges were, well, they weren't damaged as such, but the screws are beginning to give up. I think the door's been opened a bit too far. So we've repaired these, both the hinge units. I've also stripped out all the junk and stuff that was in there. There was a oxygen bottle carrier or something in there as well. Make a good wine carrier probably, so we may reuse it. Something else I discovered. I was right, I may have mentioned it in some of the footage I've added into this clip, but I was right in that this van had been completely re-plumbed for oxygen and air. That one there is the last of the air or oxygen pipes to come out. I've left it in place. All the rest went up there, up there, up there, and across there and down into the where those holes are. Basically, there was oxygen everywhere. But all the pipes were up in there, and this is very, very useful conduit for all sorts of stuff. But this pipe, this goes all the way across here, along there, and it's actually coming out there. Look, there it is. I've only, it looks like that, but it's only. So I'm rather hoping I can either pull something through that, or even just get it free enough so I can use it to pull things through with. I'm rather hoping I can get water pipes through there. It'll make life a lot easier if I can, if I need to. I'm thinking that maybe water tanks and things might be sort of on this side of the van. Haven't really come to any conclusions yet, but certainly that pipe there goes all the way around. It wasn't actually connected to anything. It may once upon a time have gone to the oxygen supply that was in those holes there, so it's about the right sort of length. But certainly there is a whoops, sorry, focus. The other thing is, which may or not be visible, you can just see the white cable ties in there. There is another piece of conduit. It goes the full length of the van. I don't know if there's anything in it or not. I don't know what it is, but it seems to run end to end, all the way from sort of that end. It goes round and round in a loop. And again, hopefully, if I can get access without causing any damage, because I don't want to be ripping apart this particular piece of trim if I can avoid it. But if I can get access, I've got a way to pull water pipes around the van, which would be very, very handy. What else can I tell you about life in general today? Not a great deal. I've taken everything out the ceiling I'm going to take out. The handholds. We won't be removing these white things where the yellow handles were. They're bonded in. So I'm just going to trim around those with the insulation I'm going to add on. But that's about it for now. Cabling. You can see that bit of conduit up there. That's got one Cat5 cable in it. I haven't decided where it goes yet. I think it's something to do with the radio. But it's just one Cat5 cable. It's chopped off at this end. And it goes up to the comms cabinet. There's a coil of cables there. Oops. Another coil of cables there. They also all buzz out, all of those, and they also all go up into the comms cabinet. Unfortunately, because I can't get this drawer unit out, or shelf unit out, whatever this thing is in the corner, I can't get at that cabling, because I think possibly if I could get this thing out, and I have been looking at it and looking at it and looking at it, it's got releasable catches on the slides, but I cannot see how I can get to the one on the right hand side. It looks impossible. But if I could get that out, I might be able to pull out some of the cable. But you'll see there's a horseshoe. That is the wiring that needs to stay. It goes through the centre duct. There's actually 3 ducts there. It goes through the centre duct. There's a very handy amount of spare coil there which will allow me to shift that to one side so I can make an opening and get rid of it. You'll also notice I'm looking virtually straight through. The ducting goes at about a 45-degree angle. The cab is actually quite a lot lower. But also because this cable is here, I'm going to have to create a step pretty much where the existing piece of whatever it is, skirting is at the moment that was underneath the drawers. But because I'm going to have to make a step, that may actually be quite handy. I was wondering how I'm going to get heat, because the only heater outlet is there, to the other side of the van. Specifically, with the heater there, I need to get basically from that corner there, along there, along there, along there, and put heat into where the shower's going to go there. I think I'm going to run a pipe and some box ducting under the step I will have to build there. It won't be a big step, but I've got to cover up the cabling anyway. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. A lot of thinking out at the moment, a lot of planning. You know, I've been able to reassess now that I was able to get these drawers out. You can just see it drop down there in the window. There's a collar that goes all the way around the window, a draft collar. But beyond that, there's a bigger rubber collar that also goes all the way around the window, which I need to explore. So that's my update for this week. I've pretty much identified every cable I need to identify. I've got various odd cables coiled up that I've pulled back because I wanted to make sure I had as much spare capacity up in all this conduit as possible. We've de-stickered the van to a degree. We've cleaned up all the cabinets we're going to keep, removed all the sellotape marks and all the gunge. But over the next few days I will finish just stripping out what I need to strip out, and then we can make a start on the fit out. And I say one of the first things I need to build is a shower room, because that's a defined size. You're limited by size of the toilet, size of the shower tray, and that will determine then what else, the size of the bed and everything else. I think the next job I'm going to do today is I'm going up on the roof and I'm going to remove the light bar from the front. It's no use, and I want to just double check that all the cables have been properly isolated. Once I've finished doing that, then I've pretty much identified and isolated every cable I need to identify. I can then put some power on this thing and actually find out exactly what does and doesn't work. I'm very happy that I've got mains into this thing now, because with shore power a lot more of the circuits I couldn't test before will work without having to have the engine running. I don't want to be wasting diesel unnecessarily. It costs enough as it is. So that'll do for this week. I hopefully will post this video later on today. Just give you all an update of where I am. But the plan is probably by the end of next week I should be in a position to begin the dual build of Thistle and this van, working on them both in parallel with certain parts fit. Anyway, that'll do for the day, and have a good week. Thanks for watching.